After good old-fashioned mollywopping of the Chicago White Sox last night, it seems like this Rangers team is hitting their stride and peaking at just the right moment.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into the Rangers' absolute destruction of the Chicago White Sox last night, Adolis Garcia showing some signs of life, and Nathan Eovaldi pitching like the ace he is. This episode of Locked On Rangers is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. Now, the Rangers just absolutely obliterated the White Sox last night after squeaking by with a couple of one-run victories, actually 3 straight one-run victories, one against the Orioles, 2 of them against these lowly Chicago White Sox. The Rangers just put on an absolute clinic last night, and the offense looked like the offense from 2023. In that, Nathaniel Lowe was hitting the crap out of the baseball. Corey Seager was an absolute baseball annihilator. And Adolis Garcia, looking like the Adolis Garcia we all know, and many of us, should be all of us, love. A 3-hit game for Adolis Garcia, his first 3-hit game since April 10th against the A's. Yeah, April 10th. It's been a minute. It was mid-June since his last multi-hit game. I mean, it has been an absolutely dire stretch for Adolis Garcia, and if this game, this series, because he's had good at-bats this series and also against the Orioles, it wasn't the best results against the Orioles or even the best results earlier in this series, but this game from Adolis Garcia is exactly what he needed and exactly what this team needed. Adolis Garcia has been hitting 5th or 4th in this lineup pretty much every game this year that he's played in. I don't think he's hit anywhere other than cleanup or in the 5-hole. I don't think he's getting moved any further down. I don't think he's getting moved any further up. I think this is where he is going to stay. Now, maybe things will change when Josh Young and Evan Carter get back, but for right now, he's in the middle third of this lineup, and the Rangers need him to hit. They need him to hit at all. They need him to be aggressive. They need him to be El Bombi. This has been a prolonged slump. I mean, it's been brutal to watch. I mean, the results have been awful. Just awful. He is a streaky hitter, a very streaky hitter. Not so much as Leo Taveras last year. When his hot streaks go, he can carry an offense all by himself. When he's cold, usually with the Rangers, it hasn't been that long of prolonged cold streaks. We did see it his rookie year, the final month and a half of the regular season. He was just so exhausted by being an everyday player because he puts forth so much effort. He is such a high-energy player that the wear and tear of the season really ground him down at the end of the year. Now he had more DH days, more days off the next couple of years, and last year he really was able to roar down the stretch. I mean, getting a little bit of time off with that injury to his knee towards the end of the year, and coming back with that barrage of homers in the final couple weeks of the regular season, or maybe just the final week of the regular season. I know he went on that tear in Anaheim, not quite so much in Seattle, which the Rangers could have used, but clearly finished the year strong, obliterating the Astros in the ALCS and hitting one of the greatest home runs I have ever seen in my entire life in Game 1 of the World Series. But because Adolis Garcia is such a boisterous, loud, flamboyant, just very in-your-face and out-there player, when he's hot and when he's on your team, I mean, it's the best thing in the world. Seeing him absolutely destroy baseball, seeing him go out there and be aggressive, seeing him make amazing throws. Truly one of, if not the best outfield arms in Major League Baseball. When he's doing well, it is so much fun to watch. But when he's not, when he is still that boisterous, flamboyant player, it can get under people's skin. It can be frustrating to watch a guy who is, so loud and out there when he's not doing well, still be that a little bit. It can rub people the wrong way. But the last couple of months, he hasn't even really been himself. He hasn't looked like himself. He hasn't been, dancing in the dugout as much. He hasn't been, having those flashy, aggressive moments. It's been kind of half-hearted from Adolis, which is exactly what the Rangers don't need. But a game like this, not just the 3 hits, not just being aggressive in the right spots, but seeing him, beat out that should have been double play. I mean, Adolis Garcia, I think he doesn't always run with the most intensity to first base. There have been a couple of, ground outs that maybe could have been infield singles. I think he's got a lot more speed in there. We've seen it than he shows on a consistent basis, especially, on those kind of routine double plays or things like that. And we've seen him be aggressive on the base paths occasionally, but that delayed double steal the game before, I think that might have gotten him going a little bit. Seeing him be aggressive in the right ways, seeing him be aggressive in this one, taking the extra base on a ball that was probably a routine single, but turning it into a double, seeing him, beat out that fielder's choice for the RBI in a close game, seeing him, be aggressive 3-0 and hit the crap out of the baseball. That is the Adolis we know. That is the Adolis the Rangers need. They need every single bit of his outfield bat juice. They need every single bit of offense this guy can provide, and every single bit of offense that everyone can provide. Because the offense has been so listless, so lifeless. I mean, having the middle third of your order, having one guy hitting 4th or 5th in your lineup, and he's not just not producing, but there had been nothing going on there. If that's the case, I mean, he was the one part of this lineup that I looked at and thought, there is just absolutely nothing coming out of there. But a game like this, a week or so like this, a stretch like this, where Adolis is looking more like himself, that is something that could fix this whole offense. I mean, Marcus Semien has been red hot. Corey Seager getting a day off after a rough stretch out of the All-Star break. I believe he was 1 for 17 before that day off, and then comes back with a 4-hit game, including a first inning home run to give the Rangers that lead that they ended up squandering in the first couple of innings. But this offense just coming to bat with bad intentions. Seeing everybody in this lineup putting together some quality at-bats. I mean, the only guys who didn't really contribute in this one were, Wyatt Langford, who got robbed a couple of times by somehow great defensive plays in right field by Tommy Pham. I know, I'm just as confused as you are. And Jonah Heim, who went 0 for 5 on the day. But everybody else having a huge, huge game. A multi-hit game for Josh Smith. 4-hit game, like I said, for Seager. Marcus Semien walking a whole lot more lately, reaching base 3 times in this one. And a multi-hit game from Nathaniel Lowe with not just multi-hit, multiple RBI hits, multiple big hits. Both of them coming off lefties. Went 2 for 4 in this one with 4 RBIs and a walk. Those 2 hits were both off of lefties. One of them was the go-ahead RBI single, and one of them was the absolute massive moonshot home run, 3-run homer in the 8th inning to cap off a 6-run 8th inning from this offense. And before that, it was just a 4-2 game, a high-leverage game, where the Rangers had just used a lot of Kirby Yates. They had used him 3 out of 4 games. They had used a lot of David Robertson. They used Josh Sborz last night. Leclerc might have been the only high-leverage arm available. You didn't really want to use him for 2 innings, but they used him for 1, and getting those 6 runs in the bottom of the 8th meant they could throw Harrison Garabito for the 9th inning, which is huge. I mean, only having to use an inning and 2/3 of leverage arms the last couple of games, that's huge. When you're playing 13 games in 13 days, and 4 of those games are against the White Sox, you'd like to use as little of those high leverage guys as you can so that you can use them against the better teams when you're in those high leverage spots, because better teams have better players than the White Sox. But getting that massive game from Nathaniel Lowe, getting him with multiple hits against lefties and a home run that was just an absolute mammoth, towering moonshot, 421 feet to just shy of dead center field, 106.9 miles an hour off the bat, a fastball right down the middle that he did not miss. The 6th pitch of that at bat, the 3rd one was a fastball right down Broadway that he fouled off. And getting another pitch like that and absolutely destroying it, that is huge. The Rangers need every single bit of this offense. And they also need some great pitching, which they very much got from their ace, Nathan Eovaldi. We're talking about that and more right after this word from our sponsors. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere in just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. This show is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the best way to get tickets to all the different kinds of events you wanted to go to, whether it's MLB games, whether you wanted to go see that Rangers Astros series. It's going to be absolutely massive in early August. No matter what kind of event you're wanting to go see, Gametime is the best way to get last minute tickets. They've got the Gametime guarantee, which means they've got the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% the difference. They've got all kinds of different great deals, and actually, as you get closer to first pitch or the start of the event, these deals, they get even better. Gametime is the easiest way, most convenient way to get these tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Now, I feel like I once again must stop slandering Robbie Grossman. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Robbie. I mean it. This time, I will really stop slandering Robbie Grossman. Seeing the pinch hit, just bat drop, massive shot from Robbie Grossman off a lefty. I get it. He hits lefties well. I will shut up about it. I will stop criticizing him. Yes, he does not play the field well. Yes, he does not hit righties well. But this dude still hits lefties exceptionally well. In 36 games for the Rangers, 67 ABs. He's got a 284, 402, 464 slash line against lefties, and 865 OPS. That's good. He can hit lefties. He can occasionally hit for power. He can work a walk. All right, Robbie Grossman, I will shut up about it and shut up about Derek Hill. I promise. Probably. Or maybe if I keep slandering him, he'll keep doing well. I'm not entirely sure if causation or correlation is the thing there, but who knows? But just seeing everybody get in on this one, I mean, even a Grossman pinch hit homer, a multi-hit day for Leo Taveras, including his 3rd triple of the season. I mean, this was a team effort, a stomping. This is the kind of thing that can get your team going. I mean, that walk-off on Monday, that was a big one. That 1-run win on Tuesday, that was a big one. The absolute massive blowout on Wednesday, not to mention the Sunday win. Every single win is so gosh dang important from now until the end of July. And not only every win, but every loss by everybody else in the division. The Mariners are just imploding right now. Just imploding. The team that had a 10-game lead in the division, not just over the Rangers, but over second place, the Astros, where they have been surpassed by the Astros, because the Astros didn't get swept in Oakland. They only lost 2 out of 3, while the Mariners did get swept at home to the dang Angels in games that they, I believe, had leads in all 3, if I'm not mistaken. At least 2 out of 3. And they had the lead late in 2 out of 3 of those games, but they blew it late. I mean, woof, it is... I would not want to be a Seattle Mariners fan right now. It is just a rough place for them. But, I mean, seeing this offense pile on late, this is the kind of a streak that can get the Rangers going. I know it's just against the White Sox, but you got to beat who's in front of you. That's all you can do, is beat who's in front of you. And the Rangers have some teams that are also not good coming up a little bit later on. This weekend, particularly, in Toronto against the Blue Jays, who are bad. They are officially bad. There's no question about, are they going to contend this year? I mean, they might break it up with a year left on, I believe Vladdy has a year left on his deal after this, and Bo Bichette as well. But that core has not worked out at all. A team that I thought was going to be really darn dangerous this year, but nope, they're not. And even if your win streaks are just against the lowly White Sox, who are on a 10-game losing streak right now, they are 27-77. I don't know how they got to 27 wins. I mean, that's how dang bad this team is. But as bad as they were made to look even worse by Nathan Eovaldi, pitching an absolute gem. Despite giving up a couple of runs, including one on an absolute laser beam from Luis Robert Jr., the one good hitter on their team. Pham is a fine hitter, not good. The one good hitter on their team is Luis Robert Jr., who hit the snot out of that ball at 113 miles an hour, just on an absolute line for a home run to give the White Sox a lead. You thought, oh my gosh, not again. Not the Rangers giving up that lead. Not the Rangers not being able to score in the late innings, in the middle innings. Only able to score early on and then say we're done. But nope, that was not the Rangers in this one. Getting a couple runs in the 5th inning, getting one more in the 6th inning, getting 6 in the 8th. This is the offense we saw last year, and it's the same dang bats from last year. Why they haven't been able to do it this year, I don't know. I mean, it's not just the Rangers offense that's been significantly down from last year. I mean, the fact that the Braves last year had one of the best offenses in the history of baseball, and this year are middle of the pack offensively. I know Acuna Jr. is out for the year, and I know Ozzie Albies is out for a while, but I mean, so many of those bats that were absolutely sensational last year have just really come back down to earth. I think it's something to do with the baseballs. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to write off just every single one of these hitters outside of Semien, Seager, and Smith and Langford, but it is at a point where you thought, all right, something needs to change right now. It has been changing. And getting this great performance from Nathan Eovaldi like they've seen all year. I mean, this was a sensational performance from Eovaldi. 7 innings the Rangers desperately needed. 10 strikeouts, which he desperately needed. 20 swings and misses. 20 against this White Sox lineup. I mean, the man was absolutely dealing in this one. Fastball velocity was exactly where you wanted it. The pitch mix, exactly where you wanted it. Coming off of that absolute beating at the hands of the Orioles. Maybe a little concerned with Eovaldi and his workload. The Rangers not wanting to push him too much, wanting to keep him healthy, because if he gets to 156 innings this year, then that vesting option vests, and he gets $20 million next year and is under contract for another season. I think the Rangers would want to bring him back regardless, but right now he is at 106 innings on the season. Just absolutely beautiful work from him last night, and also no walks. That's a great sign for Eovaldi, which has been his calling card. He has been a guy who doesn't walk guys. His strikeout numbers haven't been sensational, but he does not walk guys, and he does not usually give up a lot of home runs. That's why he has been so darn successful. Last year, the walks were much more than we're used to seeing from him. I mean, he had an 8.1% walk rate last year, which is around Major League, a little bit below Major League average, but it was nearly double what he did the year before. This year, 6.1 walk percentage. It's fine. Not quite to the best of Eovaldi's abilities, but still, he has been really darn good for this Rangers team, as was Jose Leclerc last night. I know he went 3 for 3 in terms of striking out all the batters he saw, but it wasn't just that. It was the way that he has absolutely obliterated these White Sox hitters in both of his appearances in this series. Now, I want you to think about the strikeout rate that he has in these series. Not only the strikeout rate, but the swing and miss rate. Because his swing and miss rate is the best in baseball. Not the best among relievers, not the best among righty pitchers, not the best on the Rangers, the best in baseball. His swing and miss rate is 39.8%. Strikeout rate in the top 5% of baseball. He has been that darn good. And not only getting guys to chase because his stuff moves a whole bunch and getting guys to expand the zone, which they did do. The White Sox hitters did do. But his stuff is so good that they couldn't hit it in the zone. Last night, against the White Sox, he got 9 swings. 7 of them were swings and misses. The only 2 that weren't swings and misses, they couldn't put in play. They just barely fouled it off. They only made contact with the baseball in the zone 29% of the time. 29%. Now, for some context, the average zone contact rate when you're swinging at a pitch in the zone, the average rate in Major League Baseball last year was 85%. Last night, he was at 29%. Absolutely insane. Absolutely unheard of. I mean, he was just so darn good and has been so darn good this season. I know the first couple of games where he lost that closer's role and then Kirby Yates ended up being amazing, so Kirby Yates took over the closer's role. So everyone thought, okay, well, Leclerc just sucks now. No, that's not been the case. Over his last 15 games, he's got a 2.08 ERA in 17 and a third innings, 25 strikeouts in that span. That's basically half the season. He's thrown in 39 games this year. He's got a 3.80 ERA. But in the last 30 games, you throw out those first 9 games of the season. So you throw in 39 games this year. He has 3.8 ERA. But you throw out those first 9 games, the last 30 games, a 2.87 ERA, 35 innings, 51 strikeouts. This dude is a strikeout machine. His stuff is sensational. There is a reason he went nuclear in the postseason last year. It's because he's got that in him. We all know he's got that in him. We saw it against the best competition at the best level. He was at his best, and he was nearly untouchable. Outside of that one stupid homer from Jose Altuve, which really just gave Houston more hope and made it hurt that much more when they lost every single game at home. So, it wasn't entirely bad. But still, this bullpen is so darn good. And this starting rotation is so darn good. And if this lineup keeps hitting like this against teams that are not as horrendous as the White Sox, back-to-back is starting to look really possible. This episode of Locked On Rangers is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're even talking about your rival cities. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city. Now, the Rangers have some pretty nice road trips coming up in September. They got a couple of games in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. Still never been to Arizona. I want to see where the Rangers won their first ever World Series. They've also got, on that road trip, 4 games at Seattle. Lovely that time of year. Also, they finish up the season with 3 games in Oakland and 3 games in Anaheim. That Angel Stadium is absolutely beautiful. And maybe right around then, you'll be seeing the Rangers wrap up their first AL West title since 2016. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or on the Booking.com app. The show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. So let's look at today's board. We've got Adolis Garcia. Let's see, more or less than 0.5 hits. I'm going more. And then we scroll down a little bit, and we've got Corey Seager, more or less than 0.5 doubles. I'm going to go more for Corey Seager doubles. And then let's go one more for good measure. Josh Smith, more or less than 0.5 total bases. I am cracking the over, the more on that one. See, it is just that simple. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now, if you were watching the broadcast last night, you got to see Rangers' first-round pick, Malcolm Moore, in the booth talking about his journey. He officially signed with the Rangers last night at a little bit above slot value at $3 million on the dot. In case you were wondering, that is $28.7 thousand above slot value, so really right around exactly what the Rangers were expecting there. The Rangers absolutely love his makeup. He is the catcher out of Stanford, the Rangers' 30th overall pick. In case you forgot, the Texas Rangers picked 30th in the MLB draft because they won the 2023 World Series. People forget that. I hope you don't. It was a great pick by the Rangers. There were a couple of catchers that the Rangers were linked to, including Malcolm Moore, and also who the Astros picked at 28, because the Astros picked ahead of the Rangers since the Rangers beat them in the ALCS. People also tend to forget that. Walker Yannick was a guy out of Sam Houston State who was linked to Texas in a couple of mock drafts. He won the Buster Posey College Catcher of the Year award last year. Was a really, really darn good catcher for the Bearcats. I believe he is a Texas native as well, so there were some ties there. But the Rangers said that they loved Malcolm Moore from the start. They had been scouting him for a long, long time. They loved the makeup, and he was the guy who they were targeting highest of all. So all of those thoughts about, oh, well, the Astros stole the guy who the Rangers wanted. This is not a case of the 2015 draft where if the Rangers were picking first, they would have picked Alex Bregman in that draft, but because of the random Don Wakamatsu hot September at the end of 2014, the Rangers picked fourth in that draft, and instead of Bregman, the Rangers got Dylan Tate, and we all know how that went. This is not the case of that, and even if it was the case, I'm fine with it, because I like the Rangers picking 30th. Hope they do it every year. They hope they do it every year. Every team hopes they do it every year, but this is an impressive kid. The bat comes first. I think he is going to probably stick at catcher for as long as the Rangers can keep him there. The bat is potentially special. The makeup is something that the Rangers are very, very high on. Everybody around the draft, everybody that I talked to, everybody that I read things from, loved the makeup of Malcolm Moore. He made some better swing decisions last year. A little bit less power, a little bit unlucky with some batted ball data. The walk rate was better. Made some better choices at the pitches he was swinging at, and that is something that the Rangers love to see. If he can stick at catcher, being an offense-first catcher, that is a good thing. Makeup is such an important part of being a catcher. It is maybe the most important thing, as well as your defensive abilities. But the Rangers have the best catching coach in Major League Baseball. I don't think it's particularly close. Bobby Wilson does a fantastic job at taking catchers who may not be the most proficient defensively and turning them into exquisite defenders. Kisner is the case in point. I mean, he's got a, 380-something OPS this year, and he is still playing games for the Rangers because he has been phenomenal defensively, and he was an offense-first catcher in St. Louis. St. Louis, the team that is known for having the best defensive catchers. Heck, he was behind Yadier Molina for a couple of years, and Bobby Wilson taught him a thing or two to make him an exceptional framer, an exceptional game caller. That's why the starting pitchers always talk about how great Jonah Heim is. No matter what Jonah's doing at the plate offensively, Defensively, I mean, the starters in every single game, the relievers, everybody on this staff raves about how great Jonah Heim is, how much they love throwing to him, how much they love the kind of game that he calls. It's huge. It's absolutely massive. Malcolm Moore has those kind of tendencies, those beloved tendencies. He has, the kind of makeup grades that you hear about Austin Hedges, the makeup guy, the defensive catching specialist, the World Series champion. Austin Hedges, I should say. But the Rangers signed 17 of their 20 draft picks so far, including all 10 in the first rounds. This was from the Dallas Morning News' article. There was a chart there at the bottom with the draft signing bonuses and the pick value. The only guys who the Rangers went over slot value on are Malcolm Moore, which just barely $2.97 million was the slot value for pick number 30. They went at $3 million even. They went a little bit below slot value for their second round pick in Dylan Drilling, the College World Series Finals MVP. They also got Casey Cook a little bit under slot value, the outfielder out of UNC. The only other guy, I should say, in their first 5 picks that they went over value on was Devin Fitzgerald, the coach's son, the shortstop out of Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. The value on that pick was $388.7K. They signed him for $900K. That's pretty well above slot value. They went well under on their 9th and 10th round picks at $30 and $20K respectively. Those are around $170 and $190 million K respectively. So they went about more than $150 below slot value on both those guys, so they could have the money to sign their 5th round pick. The Rangers are 16 for 20 overall, like I said. So that's pretty darn good. And they've got till August 1st to sign the rest of those guys. The Rangers did get some good injury update news on Josh Young. He's going to begin a rehab assignment in Frisco on Friday. That is great news. He is not feeling any pain after his first live BP session on the field on Monday. That is huge news. He's probably not going to play every single day in Frisco, but Bochy said he's going to play pretty close to it. The Rangers are not exactly sure how many rehab games he is going to need, but it seems like it'll be a few. The initial hope was an August 1st return, then that was pushed back to an early August return. So I don't know, maybe by August 5th or the 3rd, or who knows at this point. The Rangers just would very much like to have Josh Young back. And I guarantee you, if they get him back right around the trade deadline, the Rangers are going to say, and same with Malley, the Rangers are going to say, this is our trade deadline acquisition. This is the guy that we're adding at the trade deadline, which, kind of was the plan all along, at least for Malley. Not so much for Young to be added back in the trade deadline. But they also got some news about Evan Carter. He has been taking BP full-on swings. He has been feeling good. He is probably about a week behind schedule from where Josh Young is. So maybe August 10th or 11th. That's just me speculating. No hard date has been given for Evan Carter when he is going to start a rehab assignment, so that if he's about a week behind where Josh Young is, I guess next Friday is the target date for Evan Carter to start his rehab assignment. Don't know how long it would take Evan Carter in terms of his rehab assignment to get back to the major league level. Then the Rangers will have some tough decisions on who's going to be an everyday bat in this lineup. If they get Adolis Garcia, bumping and hitting like Adolis Garcia, that will make some difficult decisions. I don't think that any decision will be made to put Josh Young or Josh Smith or Josh Young really as not everyday guys. But being able to mix and match with this lineup, keeping Wyatt Langford in there as an everyday guy, working Evan Carter in there, having Adolis Garcia in there, and Josh Smith and Josh Young, this is starting to look like a contending team. This is starting to look like a team that could do some damage. This is starting to look like a team that could actually repeat as World Series champs, which was the hope all along. And after 2 months of mediocre to bad play, finally, at just the right time, this team is starting to look like a team that actually can defend their World Series title. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And tomorrow's show will talk a little bit more about some buying acquisitions the Rangers could make at the deadline, including one guy in Oakland who I think the Rangers should pay a hefty price for. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.